President, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, appointing me as the permanent representative of South Africa to the UN.
Joyini presented her credentials to the Secretary-General Antonio Guterres during the height of the COVID pandemic in February 2021 and has been the face of South Africa's positions, be that in the General Assembly
and the South African Development,
the Security Council, or the various forums and side events that the UN is well known for. And with the theme for Women's Month, Building Resilient Economies for All, Joyini feels an immediate alignment.
If you look at the work at the UN, and often people think that it's just about peace and security, but actually it's about peace and security, it's about human rights, but importantly in Article 1 of the purposes of the Charter is about coming together, cooperating to solve economic problems, cultural problems, and humanitarian problems. And as you would know, that we always talk about the global south, the global north, and making sure that we all develop and we leave nobody behind. So economic development is quite crucial to the work that we do here. There are frameworks. There's the Economic and Social Council, because ECOSOC has been created to look at precisely that.
Among her leadership roles, Joyini currently co-chairs the ad hoc working group on the revitalization of the work of the General Assembly in its current 79th session that codifies the selection process for the next UN Secretary-General. She chaired the fourth committee that addresses decolonization issues in the 78th session, co-chaired the UN's 2023 Science, Technology and Innovation Forum, while she also chaired the Bureau of the Commission on the Status of Women in 2022 and 2023, among other key positions. And despite the gains and the incremental progress for greater equity between women and men, Joyini says the work is ongoing in the current context where forces are working hard to stifle that trajectory.
As much as you have Mathu as the first woman, that's only the beginning. There's a need to make sure that we progress. We look at how, there's a saying, and whenever we develop frameworks here, we talk about the importance of women leadership. When women are leading, they are likely to look at how do they bring more women to make sure that they take up other important and crucial positions. So women leadership is quite crucial for all of this. And indeed, I've seen it so many times in our own country, in our own government, when we have the women leaders, the women ministers that then look out for the specific issue. So we just have to make sure that 75 years later, you have the first woman ambassador here. But think about the UN itself. 80 years, we don't have a woman Secretary General. So we don't have a woman that has led the UN. And it's about time that we have a Madam Secretary General.
Tell me why it's so important that the world has a first female Secretary General when the election comes up next year.
Because it's right for it to be that. I mean, there's what is it, 51% of the global population is women, and for 80 years, 80, you haven't had a woman leading the UN. I think it's about time. It's only fair.
And as conflicts rage, Ukraine, Gaza, Sudan to mention a few, climate disasters and development emergencies, the UN is often seen as unable to effect the requisite changes needed on the ground, and fast enough. People looking at the United Nations from afar sometimes make the case that it is not effectively changing circumstances on the ground. Tell us why the United Nations still matters and why it is such an important pillar of South Africa's foreign policy.
We don't have any other space except the United Nations. This is where we come and influence. This is where we come and demand frameworks that help us globally govern whatever issue it is. You can't do it anywhere except here at the UN. So if you think about it, it's a norm-setting space. international law that we develop here at the UN, frameworks that we develop here at the UN, those become important when an issue comes up. And I mean, typical example is when we saw what's happening in Gaza, and South Africa used a framework, international law, a convention to say, hey, there's a convention that we developed together that we all signed up to. Can we use it to resolve this problem that we have? So countries rely on those frameworks.
And as she winds down her time in New York, some personal reflections.
I value this place. I value the UN. And of course you come in prepared, you know positions of your country, you know. But then landing here, there are others like you, others that you need to work with, to work in the room with. And the community of ambassadors is an important one, because talking to each other about what needs to happen, you then realize that we all care. All PRs care about this place. They care about problem solving. That's the one thing you can find common amongst us. As to how, it's a different issue. So I like the community of people that I work with, the PRs. And one thing I must share with you is that yes, the problem solving happens in the halls, in the GA, in the ECOSOC rooms, in the conference rooms. But they also happen in the dinners and in the breakfast and in the lunches. And something I've learned and I appreciate, by the way, is that there's no free lunch, there's no free dinner. So when you get an invitation, it's a dinner invitation, you know that it is a working dinner.
Well, it's also important to show up.
And it's important to show up and how you show up.
Joyini's tenure at the United Nations due to end early next year. And until then, there's likely a lot more showing up to do. Sherman Bryce, SABC News, New York.